The long-term broad benefit is not going to be a top-down operation. It's not going to be one group pulling it off. There's a mixture of a need for shared forward energy and orientation, and for the co-creative and other resources brought together, and for there not to be lots of resistance and cross purposes and friction in the system to pull off long-term broad benefit over and over again. This is something which requires a society that is grounded in working together. There's ways in which competition can be used as part of that. The Olympics is an interesting example of that, where this is all countries are working together to evoke the best of their prize athletes, kind of, and you can that's one of the theories of the free market, is competition feeds innovation and efficiency and all the rest. And this is good if it is understood that the fundamental thing we need at this stage of humanity's development in the world is working together, helping each other, and competition can fit within that in various ways to serve us, but basically our energy needs to be oriented together. And that goes not just for our relationships with each other, but relationships with the natural world. Are we working as partners with nature? It's like, do we become part? For example, nature recycles. We have this thing we call recycling, but the fact is, nature has been recycling things for ages. There is no waste in nature. One part of nature gives off something and another part picks it up and uses it. And so when we do our quote unquote recycling of our various products that we've created, artifacts, we are partnering with this larger cyclic nature that nature has, the cyclic dynamics. We become one with that. And there's principles, fields like permaculture that are designed to partner with nature. It's like, how can we become part of a designed ecosystem where everything in the ecosystem is both contributing and benefiting, including us, rather than this is a dead land that we're going to pour fertilizer on and we're going to extract plant material from it, like as if we're mining. There's this sense of not dominating, not fighting against, but working together at every level, every step of the way. And situations, it's like, how can a situation, we have a conflict. Okay, well, we can use that conflict if we work together on it. If we work together to resolve the conflict, we can deepen our relationship, deepen our understanding of each other. We can make, they say, lemonade out of lemon. And the idea that there are lessons and capacities, potential gifts buried in situations. We can be humbled by crises. We can be gotten out of our houses. There's a book called Paradise Built in Hell, where the earthquakes and other disasters, local disasters, are met by people coming out of their houses and helping each other and providing services to their community. This is a natural thing. It happens almost all the time. So what can we learn from that? How can we support that kind of energy, where when we're facing a crisis, what we do with that crisis is community and mutual aid. And it's like the society has set us up to be in our little boxes, and when we forced out of our boxes, suddenly we're there with each other. So everyone, everything, every situation can be viewed as a partner, an ally, an asset, if we choose to work with it. And that means seeing it as not as an obstacle or an opponent or a dead piece of matter, but as a companion, as someone that has a partner that has something to contribute to whatever we're trying to do. And we want to make sure that, the needs of our partners are being met along with ours. We aren't faking partnerships so that we can manipulate and get our own way. We are seriously partners. We understand that there's a give and take, literally, in any partnership. And the more we can understand each other's needs, including the needs of nature, natural systems, the requirements of a situation for resolution, the more we can understand the needs of everyone, everything, every situation, the more we can become high quality partners and actually succeed in benefiting them and us in whatever the scene is. And that benefiting them and us is the broad benefit. That's what the broad benefit is all about. And the long term is we are going to partner with the future. The fact that many social change and ecological activists bring children into the situation. There's the fact that children represent and embody our future and what we're supposed to be all about. When they speak in their often simple language and sometimes startlingly sophisticated language, and sometimes a combination of those two, it leaves us in awe and needing to get our act together because we're moved by that. So that's another example of the long term. We are partnering with the future, and the future has things to offer us. Some of the resources, The Partnership Way is a book by Riane Eisler, which envisions, largely it's thinking of partnership between men and women instead of the patriarchy, but it implies other forms of partnership too. And permaculture, as I mentioned, is a form of partnering with nature. And some of the permaculture principles are now being applied by permaculture practitioners, of which there are thousands, are now being applied to community and society, going, okay, how do we design a mutually beneficial community in using some of the understandings we have from permaculture. And permaculture sees everything as a potential partner. That's part of what the basic underlying principles of permaculture. Open space as a process, is designed around partnership. That is, you stand up and say what you're passionate about, and other people who are passionate about that same thing join you in a discussion group, a working group, or whatever, to further what you're passionate about. And that, can have lasting things or not, but it's about fitting people together who want to, merge their life energy into a shared interest that they have. And Future Search is a way of getting stakeholders together, people who are involved in a situation or conflict, and getting them together to look at what they would all like to see happen, and then creating teams to work on different parts of it that they are particularly capable or have particular skills or passions in a particular piece of the future that they all want to build together. So that's another thing that's made to build that. And coalition building, which is a traditional organizational, community organizing and social change organizing thing. You find other organizations and people who are aligned similarly, even though they may be different from you in many other ways. In this one thing, they are partners to work on. You can get people who are far left and far right, for example, working together to undermine the surveillance state, because the libertarian right and the progressive left don't like this surveillance system. and I homeschooled my daughter. My partner and I homeschooled our daughter for a year and a half, and we were surprised to discover that it was sort of the hippie people and the Christian fundamentalist people who were in the homeschooling movement, which was an interesting coalition to fight together for the legal space within which to do homeschooling. Anarchism, I mean, for many years, I thought anarchism was, no control of anything and, throw the bombs and all that kind of, anarchy is chaos. And then when I was on the Great Peace March, it turned out that the anarchist contingent on the Great Peace March in 1986 across the U.S. Was the most organized group, but they were experienced and sophisticated at cooperation. They knew how to work together, and what they're against is enforcement and systems that dominate. They are not against people working together, and they don't like chaos either. They want to generate a working, living system. Mutual aid is one of their fundamental principles. So that was a eye-opening experience for me, 30 years ago. And more recently, I've learned more about the gift economy and people doing working together, discovering like gift circle. You have 10 or 20 people in a circle, and each one goes around and says, here's things I need, and then go around and say, here's things I offer, and suddenly all these connections show up. These people, some of whom, it's like I had a housemate who it turned out was a cartoonist. I didn't know that. I lived with her for like a year and a half, 2 years. I had no idea she had that capacity. And so we worked together trying to create a cartoon thing about wise democracy, which didn't end up working out. We had difficulties figuring out how to do it, but it's an example of a sudden match where there wasn't something before, suddenly there was something there. And the sharing economy, it's obvious that we don't all need to have, the lawnmower or all this to be able to share what we have. Suddenly there are resources, and we can work together to discover resources that are sitting unused, in isolation, uncared for, and suddenly we become more abundant, more wealthy, in fact, commonwealth. And the networking software sites, whatever, it's less about going around with your business card and more about finding each other, how to find each other for shared action and shared benefit. And the more we create a society which is filled with that kind of activity, the more we are capable of finding futures that work together and that benefit us all over and over. And that's what this wise democracy is all about.